So I'm not a miserable kind of guy. I don't think that sometimes in the videos that I'm making here, I don't think that I always come across as the most, I probably come across as if I place discipline and self-humiliation for the sake of, your own betterment. That sort of thing. I probably look and speak as if I place that at the heart of what I think people should be doing a lot. And maybe that's an unfair way to go. But something that I want to talk about today is definitely something that I'm pessimistic about, and I don't see improving for some period of time. Maybe I'm wrong, and I hope to be proven wrong, because that would be great, and it would mean that there's some sort of better future. If that happens again, do apologise, guys, but you're just gonna fucking deal with it. So, as I said, I try and keep my videos pretty, straightforward. It is definitely content for males. I want to say, it's kind of much more focused on guys who are trying to get ahead. And I think it's the younger that you look at this, the better. Don't get yourself twisted out of shape about making use out of every single hour of your day and being uber productive and all that sort of stuff. I think that there's enough of that kind of content, David Goggins and the like. What I want to focus on is content that is kind of relaxing, really. I want you watching this to be able to achieve, a lot of things, and you can achieve a lot of things with actually not a huge amount of work. One of the things that we find today is that we are earning more money. We have the much higher potential to save more money. It's easier to set things up, and I think life in a lot of ways is better than it has been in the past. But due to comparison and due to other things like that, we feel poorer than we are in the past, and this is why a lot of people talk about how the 1950s were a cheaper, better time. You could buy this, buy that. Well, what you might find interesting is that the 50s were not a very if you adjust for inflation and things like that, it was certainly a much leaner time, and it's simply that comparison was not as big a thing, but now it is. So what is worth keeping in mind is that you can definitely get ahead in life, become a millionaire, become a really big accumulator of wealth with a sort of semi-normal lifestyle. That's definitely within your grasp, and I want you all to enjoy your lives. However, if there's one thing that I don't want you to enjoy, that I want you to stay away from, and that I want you to take away from this video, it is the brain rot. And I did another video the other day about this. It was a bit scrambled, really, that video, so I want to do another one. But you need to stay away from brain rot. You need to stay away from TikTok. You need to stay away from Reels, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. You need to stay away from all that stuff. Short form content is so bad for you, it would be funny if it wasn't so serious. Short form content is the worst depressant that's probably going at the moment. It's probably the most depressing thing that people are consuming. All the bad things about social media, the constant daily comparison, the constant, God, why isn't that me? Why is my life so mundane? That sort of thing. The constant, basically what you were doing with social media like Facebook is seeing the best parts of other people's days and comparing them to the bored state that you were in whilst you were scrolling. So it was a very, very poor comparison, and certainly not a good time to do it. Now that was bad enough. Now what you have is this serving of content. You're being served content time after time after time, and it's ridiculous just how bad this is becoming for people's brains. I've been watching a couple of videos recently about, it links to studies that are specifically being done on people using a lot of AI and how it makes them stupider. Basically, they find it more difficult to form a sentence. They find it more difficult to start speaking about something authentically. Language models are making it very tricky for people to communicate to other people genuinely. I don't think that you need a double-blind, placebo-controlled trial to see that brain rot is seriously fucking bad. It starts off with iPad kids watching Cocomelon. That sort of just tunes their brain to looking at a screen and that being playtime. That was when it started bad. Something that I always hated to see was a mother pushing a pram and she's literally just sat a iPhone or something like that in front of her baby, just because that way the baby doesn't doesn't do anything except watch Cocomelon or whatever. But it starts off with things like that. That's bad enough. What comes next is what we have at the moment. Now, what really inspired me to make this video is a conversation that I've just had at work today. I don't have a TV in my house. We haven't had a TV in our house for maybe, I want to say like 3 years at this point. It wasn't, we did buy one for like 250 quid when we moved in, like a smart TV, and it was fine, but there came a point where we just realised, God, we're spending like an hour and a half, maybe a night in front of this, and we were watching TV shows like that, so we decided to get rid of it. Now, since then, I'll admit that at the moment, if we want to watch something, we get one of those projectors. We've got like one of those shit Temu Chinese things, and we just project it onto the ceiling, and that'll be the time that we watch something. Last thing at night, before we go to bed, if we want to watch an episode or something, we want to watch a documentary, we'll do it then. We probably do that once or twice a week, I'll say, for an hour or two. And we will watch, if it's YouTube, then we watch something like Outdoor Boys. If it's a TV show, we'll try and pick something that's, pretty involved, is pretty enjoyable. We're watching Outlander at the moment, that's a good one. So we try not to put things on that are we don't put things on that are a second screen, because the last thing we want to do is like then go on our phones as well whilst watching this thing. So I was having a conversation with two other people at work, two colleagues of mine, who couldn't believe that I don't have a TV. So they say, well, what do you do in the evenings? What do you do on your time off? I usually, I've got a dog. I usually take the dog out, walk the dog. He's a big dog. He's a Hungarian Vizsla, so he's quite active. He needs enough running around basically. I read a lot. Obviously I make these videos, and obviously I play a little bit of War Thunder. That is often in the background of these videos as well. I try not to play that too much though. That's obviously another source of like fake dopamine. I do work out a bit as well. I don't do it too much, but I do like to work out, and if we go paddle boarding or something like that, that's nice. Most days off that I have, me and my wife will go for a walk. We'll go to the lakes or something like that. We always try and arrange something engaging, and we try and keep a tidy house, all this sort of stuff. So much homekeeping will and improving the space that you live in is going to take up a lot of time for you. Well, maybe not a lot of time, but it's going to be taking up time in the evening that otherwise you're just going to be using on TikTok, right? So I have enough things. I've recently gotten rid of all my social media with regards to Instagram and that sort of stuff, and I just don't want to be on Reels or anything like that anymore. And I've already noticed a difference. I don't think I was very bad for that kind of thing in the first place. The worst I was maybe doing is half an hour, 40 minutes a night over the course of a week, maybe, for something like Reels. I really wasn't, I was very specific in that I wouldn't allow myself to use it at work or at lunchtime or something like that. I was very specific with when I used it. Last thing at night when I've got the rest of my work day done, basically. Now these guys watch it a lot at work. They watch it throughout their lunch break. They watch it for like whilst they're on smoke break. They often watch it at their desk and things like that as well. And I'm not dobbing them in. That's like a very common thing. I see loads of people do that. Loads of people who I work with, doesn't matter what department that they're in. Loads of people will just like have TikTok on whilst they're at work. So they were they were asking me what I do on my days off if I don't have a TV. And I said, well, I do all these things. The stuff that I've just listed for you guys there. They said, well, do you not have something on in the background? No. If I make a point not having things on in the background and getting involved actually with whatever I'm doing at that point in time. I do woodworking, for example. If I'm alone, and I'll do some woodworking. I've made a knife recently, for example. And that's the sort of thing that I think keeps a human brain occupied properly and keeps it productive. I didn't say that to them, but that's my own personal opinion. So these guys said, they've got a TV, they've got like a PlayStation, obviously that connects to that TV, they've got the phone, they've often got a laptop or an iPad or something like that as well. And they just simply said, one thing they said was that, how do you like get rid of it? I couldn't imagine getting rid of it. And I said, well, if you've got all those devices, what you could do is like cut them down slowly. So, if there's one that you don't use too much, or, you're not really playing any PlayStation games anymore or something like that, maybe just get rid of that, sell it. And they said, to be fair, I could probably get rid of everything else and just be left with TikTok. And that got me interested. So I said, what, so you'd just be able to use TikTok? And they said, yeah. You know what, to be fair, even when I'm watching TV, I will just get bored and I'll just go on my phone. So they can't, basically this conversation then became me being really interested in the fact that, so these guys, they have a TV, they can't basically watch a movie by themselves. By the way, just if you're watching this video, this is not me judging anybody, because this is endemic. This is something that so many people have. It's not something that I've been immune to my whole life as well. It's just something I'm very focused on now. But they said that if they put the TV on, and they're not specifically watching a movie with somebody, they just put the TV on to watch it by themselves, they'll be on TikTok within a couple of minutes. And then what happens is that after a bit of time, they realise they've been on Reels or they've been on TikTok, they look up at the TV and they're like, where the hell am I? Like, I'm not following any of this at all. Now, if you don't know, Netflix is very conscious that that's what a lot of people are like now, that Netflix is a second screen. And they're actually now specifically making movies to be the second screen in the room. I believe that Grey Man, starring Ryan Gosling, was apparently meant to be one of these. Damsel, which was their highest grossing thing that I think everyone's heard of, everyone's watched, but no one remembers watching, is another one of these, because it's meant to be just background noise, basically. But they said that they could have TikTok, nothing else, because they realised, that's the thing that I watch the most. And then they said, well, if I watch a film, if I'm just by myself watching a film, within a couple of minutes I'll be scrolling, and then I don't know where I'm at on the film. And what Netflix's answer to that is to make really dumbed down films, really digestible films that require basically no attention. And these are the films that you'll watch, and the characters will just be, they'll repeat the main plot point really, really obviously time and time again. It just feels like the outline of a film is being played out, not a film itself. Then they also said that, if they're on TikTok, they can be scrolling on it and they'll just sort of wake up after 2 hours, basically. They can't believe that 2 hours have passed. 2 hours is a long time. 2 hours is a really, really long time. And that is quite a dangerous place to be. If you're losing 2 hours at a time, that's crazy. I know for a fact as well that at one point I was losing, I would look at my phone at the end of the day, I'd look at TikTok, how many hours I've been on TikTok, and that was at 4. And if you'd asked me, I would have probably told you 1, right? That is fucking insane. To lose 4 hours is bloody ridiculous. There's no other way to put it. But you're wasting your life if you can't remember what you're doing with 2 hours of your day, and you're meant to be spending 8 hours sleeping, 8 hours working. I mean, Jesus Christ, good God. A quarter of your work day has just been spent, you genuinely don't know what it's done, but that is the way that the brain rot works. That is what happens, and we all know it. We all know that feeling of kind of coming out of the days after watching a TikTok for a couple of hours. It's something I think we're all familiar with. And there's nothing wrong with realizing that is where you're at and that is bad. There is definitely something wrong with you if you know that that's where you're at and that's bad, and you're not going to do anything about it. If you realize that, like, oh God, this is where I'm at. I'm losing time. There are so many symptoms for brain rot. For one thing, the losing time thing, right? But other things are, something that you might recognize is that you're forgetting things a lot when you're at work, say. Like, not that you don't have the time to do something, but you're forgetting stuff loads. You might be quite irritable. I remember seeing a video recently of a lady who was talking about how she realized that she had brain rot, and she said that all day at work, all she could think about was playing her iPad games. She was a fucking fully grown woman as well, but she was saying, all day at work, all I can think about my little iPad games. And then when she was playing the iPad games, she was really interested in the fact that when she got an ad, it meant that she could go on her phone for 60 minutes, for 60 seconds or whatever. That was ad time. That was a little break for her to go on her phone and watch TikToks. So just think about that. Like, think about the fact that at no point in human history have we had such amounts of dopamine available so quickly and so easily, and that's what people are doing. Basically a hyperactive child. No wonder that everyone is getting diagnosed with ADD and that sort of thing. We've all got this attitude of a hyperactive child. This lady had an attitude of, I play my little iPad games, her words, not mine. I play my little iPad games, and then when an ad comes on, oh, that's time for my little phone break, and I get to watch TikToks. That is obviously so bad for you. That is obviously the language used by someone who is, like, addicted to being on the device. So if you've just listened to me describe that and you think, fuck me, that could be me, it could be you. That could be you. And you've stumbled across this video and you're thinking, you know what, I need to do something about it. Good on you if that's what you think. Good on you for thinking I need to do something about it. If that's what if that's where I'm headed. The consequences of this are bad. When I was in sixth form, even when I was 16, 17, and this was when Vine was the thing, not TikTok, I was already quite attuned to this because I said I'm never going to download Vine. I was such a cool, stupid emo scene kid. I said I don't want to do it because everyone else is doing it, right? Good on me for saying that about Vine. I specifically did a project for something called enrichment, which you can do in the UK, or you could at the time anyways. I specifically did a project for enrichment where I tested people. I basically went around asking people who has Vine, who does not have Vine. How many hours do you use Vine a day, and how many hours, and then all that. And then I would basically get them to watch something or read a paragraph or something like that, and ask them to tell me about it afterwards. And there was a big difference between people who had Vine and watched it regularly and had high hours on it, and people who didn't. And it's so quick that your attention span gets just sucked dry, because I could even see when I was doing this that when they were telling me about the paragraph, they actually started getting a bit antsy for their phone and stuff like that. It was crazy. And this was almost 10 years ago. I've also seen videos recently as well of people describing this phenomenon of brain rot by much, much older philosophers. Florence Scovel-Shinn, I think her name was a bit of a sort of new age lady. I think that she had something, she described it in some way. Funnily enough, Stalin, of all people, predicted that in the capitalist West, movies would get quicker and quicker and quicker until movies were just 6 seconds long, basically. I mean, how fucking crazy is that prediction? He's totally right. I mean, say what you like about those figures, there definitely is an endemic problem with young people. And I don't mean people as young as me, I mean people younger than me. I mean, iPad babies is disgusting to see. I think that that's a form of child abuse. I think that kids who just can't, I don't think that kids should be sat down in class, for 8 hours a day without being able to move around. I don't think that it's weird that loads of kids are being diagnosed with ADD when they're meant to be, getting energy out and moving around. That's how they learn. They move around, and they're being told to sit down and shut up for 8 hours a day. I think that's wrong. I don't think they should be dosed up. But the fact that they cannot concentrate full stop for seconds, basically, for minutes at a time, and that they're all on TikTok, they're all addicted to it, is crazy. So this is what I mean. This is why I'm pessimistic about it. I think that there is obviously this growing smaller online movement about quality over quantity when it comes to content, about a more methodical approach to your life, to your work, and placing quality as being higher than quantity. Not just always thinking about volume, but thinking about how you can tailor something more bespoke, right? That is not just corporate speak. I really mean that. How do you make something unique? Think about that in your work. What it comes down to is that if you are watching this, you're obviously used to watching slightly longer videos. Maybe you've had me on in the background, and maybe you're sort of listening to it, you're tuning in at this point, and if you're not, I want you to tune in at this point. You need to stop playing things in the background. If you were to go totally cold turkey, do what I do and don't even listen to music whilst you're driving or doing something else. Everything you do needs to be fully intentional. When you watch a YouTube video, don't put it on the background. Watch it. Pay attention to it for 28 minutes and 58 seconds or whatever it is, okay? When you bring up your phone, I want you right now to X out this video, delete social media for like a month, right? Facebook, you're not on there to connect with anybody. No one's on there to speak to their friends anymore. They're all watching reels. Just get off it. It's just more YouTube content, basically. It's more TikTok. Get off of Facebook. Delete the Facebook app right now. Delete the Instagram app right now. Delete TikTok right now. Get rid of them all. Get rid of them all. Delete YouTube right now. The only thing that you can be doing from now on is bringing up YouTube to watch a long video intentionally. You do it with intention. You specifically go to watch that thing. If there's something that really helped me with this, it is, rather than using YouTube, using a client for YouTube called NewPipe that you can't log into, doesn't give you any recommended suggestions, you can't really watch shorts on, and here you go as well, you can just, there are no ads on it, so you get rid of YouTube ads as well. So brilliant. Okay, use NewPipe. Watch things extremely intentionally. Don't watch them just to have something on in the background, and start doing other things. Start doing things that are hard to do. Start seeking out a challenge, right? I said at the start of this video that I don't want to come across as another David Goggins, because I think that just, treat yourself as harshly as possible content. For one thing, there's plenty of it, and another thing, I probably don't agree with it in its totality. There's definitely a place for discipline, but it's not at every single station in your life. Start having discipline with this though. Start taking yourself really seriously on this, because this brain rot issue is so bad for your brain that this issue can't be overstated. I can't make it more clear that this, what was that InfoWars slogan? There is a war on for your mind. There is a war on for your mind. There is a war on for your attention span, for your every waking minute. Every time you go to the toilet, are you pulling out your phone and going on Instagram and TikTok? Is that you right now? If it is, the war is on for your mind. It truly, truly is. And if you can't imagine yourself without TikTok, if you can't imagine yourself watching a movie without bringing up Instagram and scrolling and forgetting where the time is, you're losing the war. You can always turn it around. There is no such thing as a foregone conclusion at the moment, and there are so many things that I'm hopeful for in the West. The rising nationalism, the sickness that we have with just political elites, all that sort of stuff is brilliant, right? But none of it means anything if you are a nationalist, fit and healthy in your body, but you sit in front of the TV and you yell at it and you go on your phone. That's not a vision of the future worth saving. There's no point in us saving this country, any country, if we're just going to be totally beholden to Chinese apps and social media run by AI, right? Basically, social media run for the sake of just having something always playing. Social media run for the lowest common denominator, and it's in every single aspect of our lives. There's nothing good about that. There is nothing good about a future where children are raised by TikTok and YouTube shorts. That's not a future worth saving. So what you ought to do right now is think about this. For your own sake, for your own brain, for the power that is in your brain that is massive. There's a huge amount of understanding. There's a huge amount of potential in your brain. For everything that is in there, get used to using it. Get used to doing stuff that makes you uncomfortable. If you're a bit like me and you want to write a book, go ahead and start doing it. If you're a bit like me and you want to work on car engines, go out, get started on something. Buy a £50 marine engine that has 5 horsepower and just learn about a carburetor. All right, start there. Start somewhere. I mentioned woodworking earlier. Pick up your knife if you have a straight knife and a carving knife or something like that. Pick it up and just get back into using it. You need to start using your time intentionally. The hours that you get back you can use for so much. And I have to just end on this. I implore you to please use that brain. Please use that brain. Please use it. It is a muscle. Use it or lose it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this video finds you all well and that you take something from it.